Hi there, my name is Lisa Mason Ziegler, and I'm the author of the book, Cool Flowers, How to Grow and Enjoy Long-Blooming Hardy Annuals Using Cool Weather Techniques. I welcome you here to week 2 of our virtual book study, and I'm glad you've decided to join us. Before we get started, there's a little bit of housekeeping. Down below, you will see that if you haven't already done so, you are welcome to sign up for us to drop an email into your box each week as soon as the new study goes live. There's also an area down below where you can post comments, and I encourage you to post your questions, your experiences, or anything related to cool flowers. Those of you that have already planted some cool flowers and experienced it, whether good or bad, I would love for you to post about that so that we can all and learn from it. I'm monitoring the questions, as well as those of you that have become well apt at this can also chime in and answer questions. So it's really about starting a conversation to help us all connect the dots and be able to include this amazing group of flowers back into our garden. Also down below there are links to the vendors that have cool flowers available if you haven't already picked up your copy. If you've had your copy, I would recommend that you refresh and read the chapter before you watch that study. And then lastly, this study will be on my website, thegardenersworkshop.com, from now on. So that way you can go back and revisit what you've watched, or you can share it with your friends, and we appreciate when you do that. So this week is week 2, and we're on chapter 2, and that is the life of a hardy annual. And I know when I say the word hardy, or the words hardy annual, all people tend to hear is the annual part, and they instantly think of the most common annuals. Warm season tender annuals are what people think. And warm season tender annuals are those plants that we plant in spring and throughout summer that grow up and perform until cold comes in the fall and winter and kills them, right? Okay? So there really are 2 types of annuals that we're talking about. So the first type are those warm season tender annuals, okay? So we're all, I think, fairly familiar with that group. The other forgotten group are the cool season hardy annuals. They are annuals that, in fact, kind of have the same life cycle of the warm season. We just plant them at a very different time. They follow a different calendar, okay? So cool season hardy annuals are planted in the fall, in the winter for some, and very early spring for everyone. So they like it cool, they thrive during cold, so they have the same life cycle as those warm cousins of theirs, but these plants like it cool and cold. And I keep hitting this home because this is the part that people have the most problem with. They can't imagine planting plants during cool seasons with cold right around the corner. So the great thing about learning the proper time to plant cool flowers is that for those of us, I'm in Virginia, for those of us that live in areas that really kind of don't really have a spring, we go right from winter straight into the heat and humidity of summer, we've never been able to enjoy this group of flowers, we thought. And it was because our timing was off. So by planting at the proper time, your flowers will be established when their time comes, and because they're established, they're going to perform much longer into that heat and humidity. I just can't even tell you. So we're here, it's mid-July, and we are just now beginning to have our hardy annuals that were planted last fall to begin to dwindle. We've been enjoying them in April, May, and throughout June, and that is because they were planted at the proper time. So, what is an annual? Let's just talk about that for a moment. An annual is a plant that goes from seed, grows up, produces a flower, and then produces fruit, and then it goes on to make a seed. It does all of that in 1 year. That plant's whole purpose in life is to develop a seed, to procreate, right? So it's to keep the flowers coming. So it does that in 1 full year. A warm season and a cool season flower both do that. But they just do it with different planting times, a different calendar, you might say. So we just have to understand that by planting it at the proper time allows this group of flowers to thrive. And we'll go deeper into all of that, the logistics of that as we move along. Now, I want to talk about that there's another group of flowers that we treat as hardy annuals, but they're really perennials in other areas. I'll just use one as an example. Delphiniums. Delphiniums are perhaps one of the most beautiful late spring bloomers. And those of us that live in the lower half of this country that have hot, humid summers have thought we have never been able to plant those and enjoy them. Well, in fact, we do. We plant and have, you can see pictures in Cool Flowers of the most amazing delphiniums, but we treat them like hardy annuals. And what that means is we plant them in the fall. They winter over to become amazingly established, and then they start blooming. I think delphiniums for us start blooming mid-May to late May, and they bloom like crazy throughout June and into early July. But guess what? We know that it's late July and August that kills delphiniums down here in the South. And that happens because our summers are so stressful and they fall to disease, pests, and all kinds of problems. So guess what? We know that, so we just take them out. We just know that they're going to die. We remove them from the garden, and when fall comes, we plant them again. We treat them like an annual, and that relieves us to know that we can grow delphiniums. So delphiniums are a perennial in Vermont, but they are not a perennial in Virginia and below me, in South Carolina and throughout the country in the lower half. So that is one group of flowers that is a perennial in other places, but you can grow it as a hardy annual if it's your summers that take them out. Another amazing attribute of this group of flowers is because hardy annuals tend to bloom earlier in spring when they're planted at the proper time, this provides for a very important group of community members that you want to invite to your garden, and that's pollinators and beneficial insects. Some of the very first bloomers on our farm are bachelor buttons and calendula. They are, for us, they actually bloom so early that sometimes we don't even harvest them for cut flowers because we don't have a whole lot of other stuff to go with it to be able to market and sell them. But usually for us here in Zone 7, bachelor buttons start blooming some years end of March, but for sure by early April. By having these plants present in your garden, those two examples, calendula and bachelor buttons, actually their foliage excretes nectar even before they bloom. So you have provided a source of food and habitat for this group of guys. And so not only is that a wonderful thing to do because we all need to think about pollinators and beneficial insects, but it also gets this group of insects into your garden earlier than normal, which means that they will then in fact set up housekeeping and start laying eggs and having babies and getting that whole organic natural system going in your garden. I attribute our strong beneficial insect and native bee population here on our farm to our early spring blooms. And hardy annuals are the ones. Think about what's blooming late March and April in your garden or in your farm. And this will change everything in your garden. And then perhaps the unwritten gift of this garden is the anticipation. All winter long, waiting, walking around in the garden, working a little bit. You get an entire new season. You have like another whole gardening season added to your gardening style and your gardening life. And so what you need to take away from today is that there are two types of annuals that we think of. First are those warm season tender annuals, which, yes, have to be planted in spring and summer. Cool flowers are hardy annuals, which thrive in cool and cold conditions, and we plant them in the fall, during winter, and very early spring. Some of us fall in winter. Everybody plants in very early spring. So next week, we're going to talk about when to plant following Mother Nature's calendar. And so that's going to help you figure out when you're actually going to plant in your garden. And so two things I want to leave you with. If I was a flower farmer, I'd be thinking right now, good grief, I can have a lot of early spring crops to sell that don't have to be in a hoop house, that you can actually grow these out in the garden without any protection. And if I was a home gardener, you have a whole nother gardening season to add to this passion that we all have. So I hope you're enjoying our book study. Don't forget to post your review, your comments, questions, and your experiences. And if you're enjoying Cool Flowers, I'd really appreciate it if you would post a review on Amazon. That just helps other people to know what this is about, because this subject is so beyond most people. They just don't understand or even know it exists. So I appreciate it. We'll see you next week right back here for Chapter 3.